mess right now, so that is a fun, all the construction. So.
That's one reason I came out here and said this, that, I didn't want the 15-minute drive that takes me to give me flat tires every 2 months.
That's about it. I'm like, man, it's not far, no traffic, but I feel like once you get to rush hour and all the construction, I didn't even get on 80. I was like, I'm not gonna chance that today. They drop down to 20, come out that way. Like 80, it can be fast, but it can be really.
If you were coming at 4 o'clock, no, you don't want to take 80.
No, it's a mixed bag. He actually I feel like left before me, so I don't. He said he was gonna do coffee somewhere. I was like, oh no, I don't think we need Eddie up coffee. So hopefully he's not sitting somewhere here drinking coffee right now. He has enough energy for like all of us combined without coffee. So we'll see.
We have a preliminary design report on the elevated storage tank that gives the height and all that stuff, right?
I think you do. Yeah, you should. We submitted
We're supposed to
PDR.
be giving it to Kim Horn for their master plan, Nova project.
What kind of project is it?
How you doing, Alex?
I'm good. How are you, Charles?
Not bad.
They're right next to us. They're actually in the
Okay. So is that like that north,
On the
north
back
and
door,
west of
we
the
go
thing,
look.
like that
Yes.
right there?
Oh,
Okay.
that's extra lane.
Oh, that's
Plus,
actually.
On the back door, we go look.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Around, go back.
Wow. I keep going like the flow of like all the developments and things are actually happening or not.
They do, they have flow.
Yeah, they do. It's hard to keep track. Eddie, did you get your coffee? Like, did Eddie come in? I was like, I think you should drink your coffee somewhere. I don't know.
Hi, how are you doing?
You did it? Okay, that's what I'm on my left.
I'm good.
Hey,
How are you?
doing well.
Yeah, I did 6:35 to 20. 6:35 was bad. It wasn't too bad. I mean, there were slowdowns, but it was definitely not like 6:35. 6:35 was much worse. Yeah.
So we're number one. This one.
Mr. Whitaker, and a good evening to you, sir.
Where you been up to, man?
That's my
Glass
half full.
It's hard to do anymore.
Well, about, what today said, 105.
I believe it, I believe it. I guess we'll go stay under the air conditioner, right?
Well, I didn't strike this year, I didn't get him cut this year. So,
He's got his coat on.
he got it cut, so he's in the truck in the house all day.
I don't think I got it. June. It was prior, we were looking for a minister to pray for Juneteenth. Who did we end up getting? A community member. I know you would have. That's what it was. But we're gonna reach out to Pastor Dorsey. And then they said they went by and he wasn't there. I said, I got I should have told you y'all was talking about it. Yeah, I just left it kind of blank, but that's what it was. We were trying to find somebody to pray, to, kick our program for Juneteenth. But we gotta take it forward. I know you would have, and I would have been honored to have you pray. That's what we thought about it. Oh yeah. We had service up there. We had a 3-day event.
I will right after that. We have a school board. So
All right, I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna be calling you early and I'm gonna tell you what I'm calling you about next time.
There you go.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Absolutely.
I got a mission. Click on that. Why? You didn't even know this. I'm really gonna do your hair. But they might just wait. And then look. And you turn everything upside down. I was like, what's going on here? He said I got these cheese flick on my face. I said, I'm gonna play with it, but I'm scared to touch the hat. That hat is be styling and profiling. Is that a summer hat or is it just?
It's pretty much, except for winter time,
We wear it.
Keep the sun out of your
then
face,
I
doesn't it?
have my winter hats.
Oh, do you? I can't wait to see those. You remember Dr.
I got a white one, I got my white one, and then I have a green, lime green one. I'm gonna get a red one.
Hey, remember Dr. Ada White?
Oh, I remember her. Yeah.
She's got signature hats. Every time you see her, she's got hats. And that's how I know her by her hat. Her hat and her cowboy boots.
See, I'm getting,
How's the nursing business going?
We had a fun day today at the Falcon at Chicken and Pickle.
Hey, I bet that was
Played a
good.
little pickleball.
Yeah.
I probably watched more than I played.
Well, hey, I
And,
tell you what.
We had a nice little time talking about some of the new projects we got for our students.
Uh-huh.
It's
That's
good.
great.
We had
That's
a good
great.
time this week.
Well, I'm glad. I tell you, you deserve a little fun. I tell you, as much as y'all like to put out, I tell you for sure.
And,
Mr. Chairman.
they're building
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Hello, can you hear me?
Gotcha.
All right.
Somebody bring me the councilman's Red Bull. Bring me that.
Can I drink it right in front of me? Got my own here, so I'm good.
Silence all of your mobile devices.
Just like around the corner? No. Oh.
What's
Oh, I see we got Phil remote tonight.
Yes.
Good evening, Greg.
Hi, Phil. How you doing? Good to see you. Even
Even
if
though
it's
just waiting for an
remote.
emergency to happen.
Yeah, he's right there. Hopefully
yeah.
the alarm won't go off, huh?
All right. Are we
Crossing our fingers.
ready?
I'm all set.
Okay.
people see us live,
You can watch the song.
they'll see us.
I don't know where the camera is, but.
At this time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting for 6 p.m. Tuesday, August the 20th at 24. City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. We have with us on the dais District 2, Donna Renee Anderson. District 3, Mayor Ronnie Velasquez. We have District 4, Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem. And we have remotely District 5, Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. There is a quorum present, so we'll move forward with our meeting. At this time, I would like to invite Kenneth Baker with God's Promises Family Church up. He's going to lead us in invocation. If you would, please remain standing for our pledges.
All right, let us pray. Father, we just thank you for this great day. Thank you for getting us all here today safe and sound. Thank you for your mercies on this great day. And Father, I just come before you lifting up this great city, lifting up its citizens and all that's great that you're doing in our community. God, we just pray your peace and your protection upon our citizens. And God, even as we go into our meeting tonight, we ask your blessings upon our mayor and our city manager and all of these great leaders in this council that are making decisions on tonight. And Father, we pray for the agenda. We just lift it up before you. We lift up every speaker as they go forth on tonight. And God, we just ask your blessings and your grace upon them. And God, we just give you praise and honor for it. In the mighty name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Pastor Baker, if you would please, 1 second. So on behalf of the mayor and the council, we want to thank you for being with us today. And thank you for your service as a leader in our community. Faith-based is real important to us and our city. And I'd like to present you with one of our pins. It says Hub of Historic Growth, established 1873, Terrell, America. That's the one I'll be wearing. I got my Notre Dame pin on today. My son left it for me this weekend, but thank you for being here.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you, man. Our next item on the agenda is Mayor and Council Community Recognition at Events. Does anybody have anything that they would like to bring forward?
Just want to keep in mind that our school district is back in session, and I want to thank all the teachers, the staff, our superintendent, our board members for getting us back started on the right, correct track. We know there were some incidences, and I'm telling you, we have the best staff, the best bus drivers, and just people in our community. So I want to be mindful of that. We need to continue to pray for, our children and our teachers and our staff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Anyone else?
Mayor, I'd just like to mention that.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to mention that we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the community, the social media space regarding our progress downtown. I just wanted to commend our staff and our downtown project manager, Raylan, on a job well done so far, and just kind of stay the course because again, people are really taking notice in a big way, and it's kind of become a source of community pride, community spirit. So just bravo to staff, and let's stay the course.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mayor, I want to share more of a highlight for Star Transit. Star Transit has now launched the UberX ride share. So if you're using the app or know somebody that needs a ride, I tested it out earlier today, the app. And if I was trying to go from the east side of Terrell to the west side of Terrell, to Walmart or the shops, within 10 minutes, I would have had pickup and would have been taken back, and I can only imagine that it would have probably taken about the same or more or less to come back. So just another form of transportation in addition to the regular shuttle service, or for lack of a better word, shuttle service microtransit that they offer.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Oh, and I'll mention it was only going to cost $2.
Wow,
Only
that's a good
$2.
bargain. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good news. I would like to send a thank you to the organizations that had back-to-school events to get the children supplied. and their families supplied with the supplies they needed for this school year. And that was the Terrell Independent School District. I went to an event with the United Church of God in Christ on South Hattie. They had a back-to-school event. It was very encouraging to see the community come together to get their children and families prepared for this school year.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, next item on the agenda is to hear remarks from visitors. We don't have any tonight, so we'll move on to our public hearings and city council actions. The first item is 4.1, conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding the amendment of land use assumptions and capital improvements plan for roadway, water, and wastewater facilities and the imposition of impact fees. This is going to be handled by our city engineer, Chris Snap.
So, council and mayor and city manager, we're back again tonight to wrap it up. We've got a bow on it, and hopefully we can get this over the finish line. We've talked about this several times. We talked about it recently at our workshop. So I'm going to bring back Melissa Brunger and Eddie Haas of Friesen Nichols, and they're going to go through the slide really quick. You've seen some of these slides, but we'll get an opportunity to refresher, and then I'll wrap it up at the end with our recommendations and follow-up.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris, and thank you for having us this evening. I'll be giving the presentation because it's fairly short, and Eddie will be here to answer any questions related to roadway. So just a reminder on this process, we've been on this journey for about 1.5 years, updating the impact fees. The first step is to identify where is growth occurring in terms of residential as well as non-residential growth. And it's focused on the next 10 years because that's what Chapter 395 allows us to look at. And then in order to be able to meet that growth, we look at what improvements are needed throughout the city. So we identify, where those improvements are needed. We look at the cost to put those in the ground. And then we conduct impact fee calculations. So for each new single-family home, what is that true impact on the cost for water, water infrastructure, wastewater infrastructure, and then also roadways? And throughout this process, we've had so many meetings with city staff, and then also 4 meetings with the advisory committee, which is your P&Z plus one person who represents the ETJ. And then we've also, had multiple presentations with city council. So we've had many stakeholder meetings throughout the process to make sure everyone's on board and that we're staying focused in the right way that we need to be. Tonight we're here for the public hearing. So this is where we're putting it out to the public. And then the next step is to adopt the ordinance for new impact fees.
Okay.
So the first step is land use assumptions, and this shows what we're assuming in terms of growth over the next 10 years. Our base year is 2023 because that's when we started this study. So we're looking at, a current population of around 20,000. We think, there's enough development growth and known developments that the engineers and developers have been talking to city staff that you could be up to around 45,000 people in the city limits over the next 10 years, and then 50,000 if you include the area in the ETJ. And so we want to be as aggressive as possible just to make sure we have all the infrastructure that you would potentially need to meet that growth if all these developments do occur. In employment, it's a little bit slower growth just based on known developments. And then, in order to be able to serve all of these developments, water system or water, treated water, then we've identified improvements. All of the ones that are red on this map are proposed improvements. Those are not in the ground today and would be needed to serve that growth. The orange are existing but have capacity for growth. And then you'll notice the green, and those are being paid by for developers. So those are not impact fee eligible because the city is not paying for them. And so those are the projects needed to help facilitate the growth we identified over the 10-year window. I think I cannot, oh, there we go. And then on the wastewater side, this is the same, similar map. Everything red would be proposed to be able to meet that growth that we identified. A lot of these projects are extending service into areas where you do not currently have infrastructure. And there are a few projects where we have to upsize to be able to serve that additional growth. And then in orange, there are some things that are already in the ground today that have some additional capacity for growth. And so we will capture that as well in this study. And then roadway is a little bit different. I didn't talk about service areas in the previous two maps because water and wastewater are just all one service area. For roadway, Chapter 395 requires you to split up your service area based on area. And so based on the land mass of Terrell, there had to be 5 unique service areas. The only really important thing about that is wherever you collect the money, you have to spend the money. So if you collect money from someone building a house in the north service area, you have to spend that money to put in roads in that north service area. So it's a little bit unique that you have to do that for roadway, but not for water and wastewater. So that's why you see these different service areas on the map. And then also on this map, the red roadways are new projects that would help facilitate the growth that's planned in the city. So I guess wrapping this all up into costs, you're currently collecting in that kind of middle column, which is right around 5,000-ish for one single family home. And then the maximum allowable rates in that red column. So it's a lot higher. And then for roadway, we have a different amount for each roadway service area. And you can see on the far right side of the screen, kind of the previous service areas for roadway, which was really 3, primarily 2, and the third kind of on the far west side. And based on the city limit expansion in the last 5 years, we had to add some service areas. So you're currently charging, I guess it's a little bit, $6,500 is the current rate that you're charging for impact fees per single family home. And then the CIC recommendation is basically to take a stair-step approach. So initially you would start at about 25% higher than what you're currently charging. So starting out at around $8,000 this month and then ramping up to the maximum allowable. So they did feel like you should get to the maximum allowable to help the city generate that money to actually build improvements and put them in the ground to facilitate the growth. So that was their thought on the approach. They did say they would like to see the impact fees reassessed in 3 years instead of 5 years as required by the law, so that might be something to also take into consideration. Oh, sorry, Chris, I'm giving your slides. So Chris is going to actually come up and give the remainder of the slides. Sorry.
Keep rolling. So what this slide, I've kind of rolled up. We met in-house basically from your discussions through the previous meetings, taking your comments. You saw what the CIAC came up with their recommendations on that previous slide that Melissa just showed you. And what we come up with as far as a staff recommendation is taking your input that we've had in the workshops, and you see the current rate over on the far left, and then the proposed staff recommendation for the new impact fees, as you see, is water, wastewater, and road, totals around $14,913. And as you see at the top, there's a clarifier there of infill lots. We had a lot of discussion about how those would be handled and treated. And based off y'all's comments, we came with only the wastewater impact fees would be charged for infill lots. Infill lot options, as we talked. So you have 3 options. Infill lots, you pay 0. That's what we're doing right now is the current rate. Or you just pay the wastewater, or if you do the full impact fees, wastewater, water, and roadway, you're $14,913. Then the ordinance that will be coming before you, basically updating the dates within it. We clarify the new development term. Basically language in there that excludes infill redevelopment of individual single-family lots. We've updated to the maximum, as you saw, what the maximum allowable, that's being applied. And then the only wastewater impact fees be charged to the infill lots. And then this would become effective immediately after the second reading and posting. So I'll turn it back to you.
Can I just give you one note? Go back one slide if you would, please. So just so it's clear, we needed to write the ordinance to say something. All right, and so we wrote the ordinance where it has the language in it where the infill lots are only paying wastewater only. If council wants to move in a different direction to change that in some way, that's something you'll be able to do very easily by motion related to that impact fee ordinance when you get to that step. So if you wanted to back up and go infill lots pay zero, or if you wanted to change it to infill lots pay full impact fees, we know what that wording is, and that's a very simple change that can be made as part of the motion. But again, we need to write the ordinance to say something so it was clear from the public hearing point of view what was actually printed in, if you go to the next slide, what's actually printed in ordinance 3048. So that was the clarity I wanted to provide. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So, council, this is the public hearing portion of it. So we'll do the public hearing first, and then as we take consideration of ordinance number 3048, at that time, we can ask questions of staff. So this is a public hearing. So we will open the public hearing to receive comments regarding the amendment of land use assumptions and capital improvements plan and roadway, water, wastewater facilities, and the imposition of impact fees. Is there anyone to speak on this matter? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. Move on to item 4.2, discuss ordinance number 3048.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight ordinance number 3048, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Terrell, Texas, Chapter 14, Impact Fees, repealing and replacing in their entirety ordinances 2217, 2263, 2400, 2597, and 2767, imposing an impact fee on new development for providing water and wastewater facilities necessitated by such development, providing roadway improvements to support new development, adopting updated land use assumptions, service area boundaries, and capital improvement plans, and approving revised assessment and collection schedules for water, wastewater, and roadway impact fees, providing definitions, providing for use of proceeds from such accounts, providing for appeals, relief proceedings, procedures, and exemptions, providing for credits, providing for updates to plans and revision of fees, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
All right, thank you, Council. Rich, you got anything? Does anybody have any questions of staff?
I was just here.
On,
Is there any questions
yes.
needed?
So, real quick, this is a way for new developments to pay for capital improvements rather than our current residents paying. This is the fee that would be associated with that development, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then it's a formula-based. It's not something, I mean, you have a formula that you use to calculate each one of those individual assessments.
Absolutely. Depending on the use of the, and how many units, it just depends on the use.
And this is a 10-year plan that will be in effect for 10 years, and then we'll have to relook at it at that
Yes.
time? But you can do it at any time?
You can look for projects out that are 10 years out, but every 5 years you have to reassess your impact fees.
Okay, all right. All right, that's all for me.
Yeah, I have,
Mayor Pro Tem?
will this impact fee only affect those areas that's being developed? Will it, any of the funding be used in other places where we have old and aging infrastructure?
My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the water and the sewer can, but the roadways have to be used within that unit of that area that the development's going on.
All right.
It also can't be used for like O&M, like operations
Yeah.
and maintenance. It cannot be used for that. It has to be adding capacity. So if you had like an old 8-inch line and you put in a 12-inch line, then you could potentially use it. But it has to be on your impact fee CIP to be able to use money for it.
So if we have an old 6-inch line that needs repair, we can't use it for that. That's an O&M function. So
Yeah,
it's not a
maybe,
free bucket of money to do improvements and upgrades as far as repairs.
For the developer, the fees are going towards whatever's happening in the development.
That could be infield lots if we do the wastewater, so it's not just new development. Anyone that's putting in any type of facility, whether it be apartments, whether it be commercial, whether it be a single-family home. So it's not development as far as the North Spur that's currently going in or anything like that. It could be single houses.
I think I understand your question. I mean, I think I understood your answer. And some of it can be used there. The roadway, it can't. I mean, that's just succinct, clear. I got it. Another question I had was about the CIAC group, that's the planning and zoning.
So that was the Planning and Zoning Committee, plus one person that is somewhat representative of the ETJ. So that happened to be Shane Phillips, who had participated. So he's not on the P&Z. He actually comes in and sits in for that. We actually have a separate meeting for the CIAC.
What kind of things do we have in place to take care of our aging infrastructure as far as the part that we pay and our citizens pay based on, you know, the revenue we get to take care of the city? Like, what are we doing to help some of those areas that are not in new development as far as funding to correct and take care of some of that?
Well, I'm gonna lean towards DJ because he handles, that's really an O&M type of question and response. This is-
But let's, yeah, this is an impact fee.
Yeah, I can use the
How could we-
impact fees for upgrading facilities all over town as long as there's a need for it because of increased development. Say we're infill lots and I've added 15 houses to it and I've got to upsize a line from an 8-inch to a 10-inch. And it's shown on the impact fee as a capital improvement, I can then spend the impact fees on that. But for normal upgrades and stuff, I have to use the utility fund. I do not use general tax revenue from the property tax. Everything that I can spend is generated by our water and sewer bills.
What about the road? The roadway is?
Roadways is
What?
a different animal.
Yeah.
Okay. I just know it involves both, so that's why I'm asking how we're gonna take care of some of those issues. Because our current citizens gonna have neighbors and new developments, and we're gonna be driving on those. And I need our citizens to understand, we need to pay our fair share too, to even drive in those new areas, even though I'm appreciative. And I wanna make sure that the city is doing our fair share of maintaining and upgrading some of the old issues we have. So I think the developers do a pretty good part of doing that. I think they have been, and they're gonna be doing a lot more if we go up to this maximum fee. When I look at the number, with the development in my area that we approved a couple of weeks ago, it's 1,000 houses. I'm not even talking about the apartments and all the other commercial stuff. You got 1,000 houses, 14,400, that's $14.4 million. Awesome, but I wanna make sure we're doing our part. And that's a small development based on some of the other developments that's already been approved for the city. So we're gonna get multiple millions in those areas, but I wanna make sure that we man up, that Ms. Thomas takes care of her family, not put that on the back of the Velasquez's or the Andersons, you know, and that's my belief. So we need to do our fair share as part as well. And then I'm thinking about this. Those fees are over 100%. It seems a little excessive to me. I know we need to increase it. I know we need to get that revenue in. We can use $14.4 million right now. I want those 1,000 houses up here north of town to come in right now. But when I look at that, average houses are about 280 to 300,000 now. They're selling in Terrell. That's a 5% increase. If the builders sell that house, I think it's going to affect the people that's buying it. That's a 5% increase. Those that's not buying, if they build a new house and it's a lease property, it's going to affect the rent. I was looking at apartment.com today. We got 1 to 3 bedrooms that's renting in the thousands. Okay, so that's my concern on this council, and that's my passion, because I want to be a voice for my community and my area that I manage. So with that being said, I think the numbers are exuberant. I think we need to increase them, but I want to make sure that we're not being too excessive. 100% is high, but when you talk about double plus, it's a lot. And I'm just concerned with a house that's 280,000, 14.9, that's 5% of the cost. And when if you can, you know, I could buy a house when I was 25, but if you're paying $2,000 rent, $2,500 rent in Terrell, Texas, you're gonna be buying that house when you're in your 30s or 40s. And then I know what comes after you get 50. we're slowing down, we're downsizing, we're talking about retirement. So those are my concerns, and those are my concerns for the current residents. It's my concern for residents that's left and may come back. It's my concern for residents that's coming along, because my daughter didn't go to college. She wants to wait, do some things, and I know a couple $1,000s a month is gonna be kind of steep for her to pay. And I know if we can kind of do things now, because we're about homelessness and housing insecurities. These policies drive those things. I know it. And it's no secret. Y'all know what business I'm in, but I want to keep the costs down. That probably sounds super crazy because I want to keep the costs down, but I think it's important to do that because we're not going to pay for it. Our families and our citizens are going to pay for it. So I do agree and think we need to increase it, but I'm not sure if 120 or 40% is the right amount.
Anyone? Next.
Yeah, Mayor.
Yes.
So I just want to begin by saying I'm so excited that we're considering a very dramatic increase in these impact fees. I fully support a major increase because of a few reasons. One, the two most common concerns I hear from citizens are we're growing too fast with the potential to outpace our infrastructure. And two, our water rates are too high. I think a dramatic raise to these fees gives us the opportunity to address both of these issues in a very meaningful way. I think raising these fees can help to stabilize our rate of growth, so we're growing in a smart way. It could help with infrastructure improvements and also help to stabilize utility rates. I also hear our constituents asking another really important question. They ask, I see all this development happening around Terrell. When is it going to benefit us? When are we going to see benefits from this? When are we going to see positive impacts to our infrastructure? Well, this is how we begin to make that happen, by having these developers pay into our system to make improvements, and our citizens see real benefits there. We have to bear in mind, raising these impact fees will not negatively impact our existing citizens. If anything, it'll benefit them to make our big developers pay their fair share, and that should benefit the community. And also another good point I think we should bring up is, we have to strike while the iron is hot as this growth is occurring to ensure we're really reaping all the benefits during this period while this massive growth is occurring. Because we talked about how Forney has grown so much, and now they're pretty much all built out. We're still on the early end of our growth. So if we can get the impact fees where they need to be now, we can reap a lot of benefits while we're still in the process of growing. So that's why I support the fees. I think they're, as I understand it, water and sewer impact fees can be utilized to upgrade water infrastructure if it's needed to accommodate a new development. Is that correct?
Yes.
The capital improvement
Yes.
plan.
Yeah. So that, let's take a real world example. We recently voted to replace a water line out on Poetry with new developments coming in just north of the high school, I believe. Say in a situation like that, I would assume a project like that could use some of these funds, right?
We could use part of the funds that the city's responsible for, yes. Part of that is a grant, so it could offset some costs, that's correct.
But you know what I mean? Just talking real world terms, you've got, a new development coming in right there. You've got to replace a water line. That water line's obviously probably going to serve, that development to a degree. So it's like, to me, we don't want to think of this in terms of simply what's happening inside the development, but it's the surrounding infrastructure that feeds into that development, which is going to benefit existing citizens of Terrell as well. So for that reason, I'm very, very supportive of us dramatically raising the fees.
Okay, thank you.
How much can we use on that? The example he used, how much of that new impact fee from a different area can we use on that project? 50%?
Maximum is 50%
Okay.
of the development costs can be paid for by impact fees. The rest of it's got to be other forms of funding.
Thank you for
Whether
that.
it's grants, property taxes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I do have a question about, and this may go back to our experts in the room. When we compare our impact fees to the cities that we were compared against for like the size, the population, the type of, the amount of development that's happening. If we were to use, like in simple terms, that, hey, cities having low impact fees, cities having high impact fees, and somewhere in the middle, where do we relatively fall?
Right now, we're going to be in the middle, and we're going to be within $100 of impact fees with, say, for example, City of Forney. Council action would move us from middle to very high. We would be under the highest in the region, which is Flower Mound. Now, I say that's a snapshot in time. Most of the cities that I talk to are in the process of updating their impact fees. We just happen to be one of the first cities to update its impact fees after the round of construction inflation that happened after COVID. So you're going to see a lot of cities over the next year and a half, 2 years start adopting, because remember, everybody's on a 5-year cycle. We just happen to catch the 5-year cycle window of we're adopting these, and we will be recognizing construction cost inflation. You know, a lot of what you see here isn't, well, there's just so many new projects. A lot of what you're seeing here is things that cost one price in 2018 when we prepped the dollar amount estimates for 2019 adoption of impact fees. Well, now we're looking at 2024 numbers for construction costs. And those numbers have to suffice you for 5 years. So just letting you know, kind of that's part of the background going here.
So it sounds like right now we're in the middle of that range, and potentially we may be closer to very high, or once all the cities that we're compared to also update theirs, we might fall back in line to middle, or maybe somewhere just above that, if we were to follow the recommendation that's before us. Okay. You know, I'd really enjoy examples. I appreciate the examples shared by my fellow council members. So let's say Stallings Addition neighborhood. We've been talking quite a bit with staff and as council on stormwater and water upgrades. I'll call them upgrades because we do have new infill lots, new homes on those lots that have been constructed by, you know, some of our, maybe I think I see one developer in the back today that I know constructed a home, a once beautiful home when you enter on Stallings Addition on Temple. And then there's developers from outside of the community as well that have developed. And we have seen issues with stormwater due to upgrading infrastructure, an aging infrastructure, probably some added capacity. So in that example that we have talked about, what can we do to make sure that the community members who live in those homes, whether they've been living there 30 years or have been living there 3 years, feel proud of where they live and are living in safe sanitary conditions? If we were to upgrade the lines, replace the line that feeds through the Stallings Addition neighborhood, would the impact fees that we're discussing today help pay for some or all? I understand up to 50%, but would it help pay for?
Can I take that one, Chris? Because just having watched the lay of the land over there over the years, we know for sure that the wastewater pipe that goes from Stallings to Kings Creek, right? We know that there's portions of that are old and undersized. We know that if we had impact fees from, let's say, for example, the vacant 30 or so acres on the south end of Stallings that can be easily developed as new streets with brand new houses, new platting. When that happens, which eventually it will, right? People have rights to build things, and they'll eventually come in and do some residential back on that corner of Stallings. So let's say that roughly 30 acres gets developed. Those impact fees that they pay in could be combined with city funds to make the appropriate wastewater upgrades along our existing pipes, because you'd be upsizing due to development and we would be able to determine the right way to do the cost sharing, obey state law, all that good stuff. But those monies could be used in partnership with what we're doing to make that a much easier project for us to do, right? Better to dig a pipe up once, fix it once, than to do, oh, we have to do a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. When we get the influx of impact fee funds from a large project like that, we can have a much more efficient approach and get the project done much better. And then it's an interesting example because it's inherently the heart of y'all's discussion with do you or do you not charge this in an infill setting. You've got many vacant lots over in Stallings. I wouldn't tell you that I have a count of those off the top of my head, but you know, y'all know your neighborhoods. You could drive around, take a look at vacant, individual, existing single-family platted lots in the Stallings addition. Could you collect those impact fees from those one-off single-family homes, put them in your savings account for impact fees, and then utilize that at some time in the future to assist in the upsizing? I would never tell anybody that's going to be a huge dollar amount, right? You just don't have the volume that you would with 30 new acres. On the other hand, it's a revenue stream. And so that revenue stream could be used in exactly the same way with that exact same sewer pipe that is undersized and in bad condition leading away from Stallings. So that's really the heart of your policy debate here. You can use it in that example in a sewer application like that, and it gives you an additional resource. And remember kind of the message we've been getting from day one from our consultant team here. Under state law, we call this the maximum number, right? But maximum number is actually only 50% of actual costs. What you really, the way I read these impact fee studies when they come back is when they tell you that you can charge $14,900, what that means is there's $29,800 of actual cost for the new development coming in. But under state law, you can only charge for half of that. And so just have all of that in your mind as you're thinking through your decision making here.
So if I understand, that correctly, and let's say that inviting my fellow home builders in the room, and going back to Stephanie's point about community members downsizing at certain points of their life, because I have had some hands raised throughout the community and in Stallings Addition about, hey, if we could have, whether it's like townhouses, duplexes, quadruplexes, something that can help our community members stay in the neighborhoods or in the community that they grew up in. We had those fees from those new developments, making up a number, if those developments were to cost $10 overall, the city would be responsible for paying the $5, and the impact fees that would be charged to the developer for adding capacity to the stormwater and water, they would also pay $5 is what we would be at the maximum. We're debating whether we would ask them to pay the $5 or maybe only pay $3 or $2 or $1 for that split cost between the city and the developers. Is that?
Yes. So the intent is not for you to become out whole and not you're even Steven and you're not out any money. So there is where you have a little bit of the skin in the game and that allows you to just go up to 50%. So it's very well what he just stated, that basically you're paying $29,000. The cities end up paying $29,000 in improvements and capacity, whatever the case may be, to accommodate that addition.
Okay, and then
So if if you buy a house, you don't pay that. This is only for improvements and additions.
Okay, and then, and I keep, roads are important too. I just keep having stormwater and waste water line concerns coming from constituents. It's at the top of my mind. So then if, sounds like what we could, across the board, whether it's an infill lot or a large development, non-infill lot, we could be charging across the board the same fees for water, for wastewater, and for roads. But because we want our local developers, and then those infill lots to get filled, then we are, based on our feedback from the past and staff's recommendation, right now, we're only saying wastewater only, no water,
That's
no
correct.
road fees to still
I took
have
the
a-
input
I would call
from
it
the
a
workshops
compromise,
back
right?
from you, that like, as Ms. Holmes stated, that doing everything for an infill lot just seemed quite excessive. So we took the consensus back of saying, okay, we're just going to apply the wastewater fee for the infill lots.
And that
And
infill,
that was like 4,800,
4980.
yeah, 4,980. Too many numbers for me to memorize.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you walking along in my examples.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just clarify a couple of things real quick. So these rates do not affect current citizens and where they're, wouldn't have any effect on their housing and where they're staying now?
That's correct.
Zero, right? The other thing is, it's only 50% of the total cost that we're able to use. And the last time we did this was in 2019, which back then, the cost of construction was quite a bit different than it is today. So we're just bringing up, what I will tell the council is that I've talked to several mayors in the county, and they're looking at to see what we do, and I think they're going to be following suit. I'd be surprised if they didn't. They're in the same shape as we are. They want new development to pay for new development, not be on the backs of our current citizens. I think that's a good thing. All of you have made good points, and to our staff, good questions. Again, we are only going to be looking at what the costs are for new development, which is the amount of, what was that total, 16,000 or?
14,913.
14.9.
Yeah, 14.9 for the new development, and then on infill, 49.80 is the total that we're looking at. So just south of $5,000 impact fee, which could be a lot more. And that's going to be on the ordinance number 3048, right? Yes.
If you don't mind, one final thing, you know, like you said, a lot of other cities in the area are looking at us, what we're going to do here. We're getting this before them. So I'd say we have a big opportunity here to lead the way. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. Thank you guys.
Nothing passes, Councilman.
And I
Yes.
asked this too about this recommendation from the CIAC. I know we appoint the planning and zoning, but you say we appointed one extra person with what, the ETJ? They were
It was Shane Phillips was the individual that was participant. So basically, in a layman's term, you bring in an outsider, so it's just not your P and Z.
But it can't be just any outsider. They have to be.
There's
what?
certain experiences and requirements and prerequisites that person must
Right.
have.
Yeah, Mr. Phillips owns a construction company, Lakeside Commercial, that has its offices in the city limits. And so, and he's been on your airport board. So because he's a builder, he met the qualification.
All right, and I'm looking at this recommendation from them. I know you were in on these discussions. What were their idea about the progression? I just noticed.
So
slide 16,
the conversations that, in a nutshell, went like this, is some felt like, let's just go for the max, as some of you've already stated. Others felt that was just so aggressive, that might be too overbearing, kind of felt what some of your comments were. So it went in, it was quite a lengthy discussion. It wasn't a 5-minute, okay, let's just do this. Everybody was involved. It was a great deal of discussion. It was good discussion. It was a healthy discussion. There was a lot of consensus of, okay, if I don't go for the max, then let's go for the recommendation of in 3 years, let's redo this and revisit it. Revisit meant maybe not go through the whole process, because you can do this in 2 years if you want to. Say the growth just shot up so much that we're falling behind and we're getting behind. We could go through this process again. We get them back involved and do that. So their consensus was a little bit of 1 or 2, let's go for the max because we need to catch up. They see the importance of where the funds and what they're used for and what true impact fee really means. That's something foreign to a lot of folks. But the overall consensus was, let's be aggressive but let's don't do it all in one jump. So let's do a progression. So we just kind of prorated that, and you could see it came out to like 17%, because we wanted to get to the max at the maximum year, at the final year, not the maximum year, at the final year. So we just back calculated that and said, okay, we'll progress at this rate. But in 3 years, we'll reassess where we're at, and if it warrants and we want to pursue that, hey, well, let's redo our tables.
Can we jump out and do the max, and then if things slows down the opposite, can we scale it back?
I don't see why not, that you could do, same that could be applied, where in 3 years, you can go, okay, we've been doing the max for 3 years, and, we're pseudo, you felt comfortable or caught up. You could say, let's reassess it and go from there, and then we go back through this process, and then we do the, number crunching and present it that way. So that's an option.
The CIAC, I wanted to know who those people were. We
Yeah.
appointed them. We got an extra guy. He's in construction. He builds. That's a recommendation. The next one is our recommendation, or the staff. Can I put our name? Who name do we put on that when it says?
You feel
staff
free to call that
recommendation?
one staff recommendation,
The
absolutely.
staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blame
I'm not
me.
gonna pin
When
you
you see
down
the
for
word
it.
staff,
You're
you can
looking
blame
at
the
me.
city manager. Yeah.
I got my.
Yes.
But it's only,
So I,
let me clarify. It's only staff recommendation because they took what they heard at the budget with us.
So
At that
I've listened to 2 conversations, we brought this up, and this is probably the third presentation. So I'm sensing, I get the feel and get the vibe.
Where would in the middle be? If I looked at the CIAC with the experts on here, the people we appointed, and you look at staff recommendations, where would the middle ground be? I'm not holding you to it. I just want to see.
So if you backed up to, there's a current, so you could see, you could go from your current to the max, and you could pick a number in between there. You have that freedom to go in there and pick a number. It could be an even number.
Yeah,
It doesn't have
go
to be-
one more slide. I'll just give you an
Yeah.
example of what Chris just said. I'm
There
sorry.
you go.
Yeah, hold on that one. Again, y'all can simply do this by motion, right? If you wanted to, you could say that, oh, well, you know what? This is a pretty good chart. Let's skip to August of 26 and make that August of 24 and just have it be a phase in that takes the last 3 columns. Or you might say, well, I like the last 2 columns. I'm going to have August 24 be the second to last column there, August 2027, and then we'll give it 1 more year, and we'll pop right up immediately in 2025 to that 14,913 number. If you want to use this chart in your motion to phase it in differently, then just tell us to apply a different year to this chart.
I don't know if we have anybody that was here in 2019. Mike, you were, but no staff, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, it's always been that mayors and councils have hesitated on doing the maximum on impact fees. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yes, it is, and I would say that in years past, what you saw was the opposite discussion. The CIAC would say, hey, just go ahead and go with the max and move on down the line. And then it would get to council, there would be concern at the council level about, gosh, is that really, do we want to be that aggressive? Do we want to be at the top of the chart? And that would get backed off. But there's a long history in Terrell of phased-in impact fees.
So related to impact fees, had they have taken the recommendation and done the max, and we'd have been at max from 2019 to current, would we be in a better position as a city?
There would be a meaningful amount more money in your account if you had started charging 6,492 in 2019 as opposed to the long, slow phase in.
So really, that's what we're looking at, is what position are we going to be in 10 years? Are we going to be in the same boat where, man, we should have just bit the bullet and done the 14, or, and it's only half of what total costs are currently, because there's a formula there that you can only use. So as we consider ordinance number 3048, I think we should be informed and know exactly what we want to do moving forward. And I appreciate everybody's comments, the mayor really does. I understand the pressures on builders. And so it's just one of those things that if we want to have the growth in a right way, in a meaningful way, where new residents and new citizens are paying their fair share and their way in, I think that's the better option. But is there any?
I got one
Okay,
more
yes.
thing to say. I'd like to make a motion, but just in full transparency, there's been some concern because of my family history and ownership. I'd like to really kind of get a little more legal instance on this. I understand. I
We need to
really would like
recess? I'll be happy to recess for
Yeah,
just a
'cause
moment.
I'd
Let's recess for 5
postpone
minutes.
it based on that.
Okay, go ahead. Y'all go back.
mean that sincerely. I'm not trying to be.
It's gonna just help me get clarity, neutral, somebody who just say, hey, this is how this should.
If you want to talk to me about it some more, you certainly can. You go.
We're going to reconvene into regular session. Let's finish up our discussions on ordinance number 3048. I think we got some staff. Mike, did you want to make a couple of deals before we do?
Mayor, really, the only staff wrap up on this is that we're confident in our recommendation. We think we've studied through it quite a bit. We know that the pressures in our utility system and our roadway system are such that we do feel like it is a valid step, if you move to the next slide, to go ahead and move on to this recommendation here.
Okay.
Staff stands by that, and we think that the sooner we start collecting the higher dollar amount, the more resources the city will have to do the construction that is needed. And so with that, I'll hand it back to you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion on ordinance number 3048?
Yes, I'd like to lead the way by offering a motion to approve ordinance number 3048 regarding the amendment of land use assumptions and capital improvements plan for roadway, water and wastewater facilities, and the imposition of impact fees.
Okay.
Phil, can I ask, I've talked to the mayor about some concerns.
Sure.
Based on me recusing myself, and I need to take care of some things. Can you just, can we alter that and postpone it to the next meeting, or as soon as we need to
Certainly
meet again? I appreciate that if you would do that.
How do we go about, a motion's already been
We have a
made. How
motion,
do
but we don't have a second, so we don't have to,
Okay.
you
It
can amend
dies.
your motion to postpone until next Tuesday.
Okay. I'd like to amend my motion to postpone the vote on ordinance number 3048 until next meeting.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, District 3, to postpone item number 3048. Ordinance number 3048 until our next council meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is discuss and consider airport board appointment. Go tell them that they did a good job.
Mayor and council, in your packet is the airport board roster. As you can see, Brian Thayer has served 3 terms on the board, so his term will expire this month. Andrew Jones' term is up in August, and he would like to be reappointed. And we also had a resignation of Carlton Tidwell. And whenever we recently redid the ordinance, we reduced the number of members from 9 to 7, so we don't need to replace Carlton. We will just need to replace Brian Thayer.
Okay.
And reappoint Andrew Jones. And this falls under the mayor's oversight.
All right, council, I will make a motion to reappoint Andrew Jones and to the airport board, and also to appoint Dennis Rottler to the airport board. That's my motion.
Second.
I have a motion from the mayor, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, District 3, to reappoint Andrew Jones and to appoint new member Dennis Rottler. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda, discuss good news report. This is Allison Walker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to present the August Good News Report. As you can see on my first slide here, there we go, whoops. I think Dawn and I we're controlling it. Okay, the city council, y'all have been busy. Y'all have been out and about in the community, and you can see up there on the top left, the mayor was at the Burnett Reunion. That's an annual celebration of some of our history with the Burnett School. And then the next picture is the mayor and council member Anderson with an individual that participated in the library summer reading program. So that's a picture of them at the pool party, and they assisted with presenting their certificates. In the bottom, you see our Mayor Pro Tem honoring Coach Pat Walker for all of her years of service at the Breezy Hill Back to School festivities on August 3rd. And top right, there's Mayor Carmona, who was a guest at the, well, that's not Mayor Carmona there, but he was recognizing James Maxwell for his 33 years in the ministry at Southwestern Christian College. And then I don't have a picture of this, but the mayor and Raylan were invited to do a presentation at the BNPW Clubhouse by the American Legion. They said that was a really good meeting. And then as Donna said earlier, she also participated in the, tell me again the name of the church?
The United Church of God in Christ.
Yes.
They're back to school.
Right,
Yeah.
so y'all have been very active.
I'm going to put a plug in for myself.
Oh, where were you?
Kiwanis as well.
Oh, great. Okay, so I can't keep up with y'all because you're too busy, but that's good. Okay, this was a law enforcement collaboration that was held at Terrell PD. They hosted the Kaufman County Intelligence Meeting on July 23rd. They had a guest speaker, this Plano Detective Steve Howell, and there's some of the things that they discussed, and that was all related to auto thefts. Hopefully the prevention of and not how to. Okay. August Street Work Snapshot. Y'all, I've been trying to keep y'all updated on these weekly with the help of Glenn and Carnell. But on the left, those are the three main areas they're working on. So as I get pictures of projects that are in the works or completed, I'll continue to send those to you. Okay, we have some new TPD recruits. Joseph Seha, who relocated from California, and also Seth Harrington, a former jailer at Kaufman Sheriff's Office. And these recruits, I believe, are in the midst of their Regional Police Academy training. It's a 740-hour academy. And then also we have Stephen Thomas, who is a new maintenance worker in our streets department. Okay, there's a lot of information here, I apologize, but this is a group photo of the record 9 graduates that they had for the Wings Adult Education GED graduation. It was really a neat event, and we had in the midst County Judge Jakey Allen, Jason Morrison, president of TBCC, the mayor was there, and also Keith Bell. And he handed out certificates to each of the graduates. So that was really a great event. I mean, it's sad that we don't have it here, but it's good that we've outgrown the this facility because they had a lot of family members there. And in addition, the registration for the fall session of Wings, GED, all the classes that they are teaching is now open. So if you know anybody that wants to take advantage of any of those, you can get with Laura West and she will assist you with that at the library. This was a first responders breakfast that McIntyre Community Church hosted, and I think there was a pretty good turnout. Billy said that for the first time he was pretty pleased, but I think that's something he intends to grow, and hopefully in the future we'll have an even bigger turnout. And there's our two, well, there's one of them. It looks like Phil has become an engineer. So there's DJ and Chris Knapp. And we just wanted to try to recognize people when this was for the Professional Engineers Day on August the 7th and the role that they play for safeguarding public health, safety, and wellness. That dates back to 1907.
Yeah, go back one slide. I can't help but say that Jeremy Mungen, who you've seen several times and does great work working under Chris Knapp, he is on the verge of taking his Texas version of that. He's licensed in a different state, but he's taking his exam to be Texas state licensed soon. And say a little prayer for him. That's a lot of work to change licenses in states.
Okay, and then this is a slide that is about the Ryder C. Halsey Public Library's Backyard Back to School Bash. The Teen Advisory Board actually sponsors this event, and it's a 15-member board. And Becca was saying the neat thing about this board is that they make these kind of events more relevant for the kids, because sometimes if adults plan things, it's not what the kids want to do. So that's a neat thing, and they've got a lot of participants. They had 14 that attended, and so they are growing that program, and hopefully we'll have more events in the future. Okay, the Care Flight Terrell Base. This was such a fun event, except for the heat, and I really thought we were all going to have to be care flighted for heat exhaustion, but it was really a good event. And Mike's daughter, Elizabeth, was the speaker. She talked about how she was care flighted after an auto accident, and she even got to take a helicopter ride without being a patient. So we also appreciate the BFTS Museum because they allowed them to host a luncheon there following the Care Flight grand opening. But that's been a long time coming, and we're excited to have them here. Dora is coordinating another blood drive Friday, August the 23rd. We have this on all of our social media pages, so if anyone needs to sign up to donate blood, feel free to do that. 7:30 to 2 on that Friday. Okay, the CPR and first aid training. This obviously has been another program that's been very successful. I took down the August class, and shortly after I posted the September class, it was already full as well. So he's going to be letting me know whenever they have their next. Josh McKenzie is heading this up, and he'll let me know when they get the next class scheduled. Okay, y'all should have all received this invitation for this groundbreaking ceremony. It's really exciting. It's August the 28th at 10 o'clock. If you haven't RSVP'd for that already, please do so. Over on the right, you'll see just some of the statistics. It's a 250-bed hospital. It'll be on 3 floors, and it's a $573 million budget. And I'm not sure, I don't know if Raylan's here to, or if anyone else in the room happens to know if this expected completion date is still accurate, but they had said initially it was going to be fall of 2027. And then here's our little spotlight. I don't know if y'all have seen this magazine, but we were featured, our downtown area in this magazine, so that was exciting. And, you know, kudos to the Paddock Board and all the downtown merchants for their part in making that happen, and to y'all for your assistance in supporting downtown. And there's all the people on the left that we can thank for continuing to support our downtown revitalization. That's it for me.
All right, thank you, Allison. Does anybody have any questions for Allison?
Allison, I just wanted to say, oh, go ahead.
I'll take this one, Phil. You take the next. Thank you so much for helping push out, along with additional staff, the information that you shared with us on social media as well. I think, feel like our residents find it helpful, like the city, the streets information. Photos are great. If we can have them, great. If not, I think it's okay. That I think it's helpful when they know, oh, X, Y, and Z street is going to be worked on in the next 1 to 2 weeks. I know some of that fluctuates, so thank you for doing that. I think they want to continue to see that. And then the photo about the blood drive made me think about the mammogram bus. And I hope that there's an opportunity in the near future. I know sometimes they get booked out, but perhaps we could have it here at the City of Terrell or the library for our community members and staff members. Would love to have that available. But other than that, it's I don't know if I'm sharing my emotions as great as I should, but I really appreciate all the good news, good information shared in the community.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really do appreciate. I don't want it to go unsaid that I really appreciate these good news updates. I think it's the kind of thing we should be, pushing out in the community to raise community spirit. some positivity. And also, just wanted to reiterate, I really, really do appreciate these regular street updates. I get asked, what the progress is on a daily basis, and being able to have that at my fingertips and share that is indispensable. And the pictures are great. Just keep doing what you're doing, Allison. It's very appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thanks to Glenn and Carnell for the pictures and the updates. So thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks to staff.
Yeah.
All of you
I
guys.
wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the good news, but more importantly, in addition to that, you are showcasing the work that our employees are doing. And there are no words to say thank you for what they do on a daily basis. It's not just, I appreciate the first responders, making sure that the people are out there, they're doing it all the time. And so thank you, thank you.
This is beginning to be one of my favorite reports.
Oh, good.
Good news and, just the inclusion of the new staff. If I hear the name, I'll remember them. So I appreciate this report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Allison. Next is our legislative update. Senior Policy Analyst Omar Amata.
So I'll give you the brief intro to Omar's item by just saying that, remember, from time to time, you've got to take a vote on an item where we can say, hey, this is the overall city council policy position. So a lot of things we know, and they're embodied in like the comprehensive plan or something like that, or you've given us a previous vote or previous direction, so we can do that. But from time to time, it's good for Omira to come forward and give the big picture of here's lots of things going on. And then remember that some of the things she's saying we'll craft into an individual policy later on. Some of this has to do with committee assignments. If anybody wants to be assigned to a committee, our partners normally want those to be voted on. So that's going to have to come back at a future time. But this is the big picture so that we can then pick out of it to make votes in upcoming agenda items. So Amira, take it away from there.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are going to dive right into our potential legislative priorities. On the state level, we'll go into the federal level, and then, like Mr. Sims said, we'll talk about some opportunities for you guys to be involved and how you can advocate on that side. So on the state legislative priorities, we have two. Most important right now, we have the Terrell State Hospital. We have a water line, a sewer line, and roads. We can go into a little bit of detail about that, but just to give you some kind of background on there, Allison did mention the state hospital is breaking ground. We're trying to find money to improve the roads around that area, improve the sewer line capacity that hospital is going to bring, and just the fire requirements that are taken into that. We are also looking at hospital recruitment opportunities. I know this is a hot topic, so we can do academic research partnerships, any kind of health and human services partnerships, education, workforce, and training partnerships, and also looking at opportunities with the Terrell EDC on this. If we look at our potential federal legislative priorities, this really is just kind of an overview. Like we mentioned, these are just a couple of examples. I'll kind of go through them, but just downtown and quiet zones, we're Raylan is very actively involved finding us monies for opportunities there, any environmental cleanup, any kind of preservation on land, parks, beautification around the city, safe routes to school, sidewalks, recreational trails, environmental justice, infrastructure improvements, wastewater infrastructure rehabilitation, and then the possibility of a police training academy partnership with our HBCU here, Southwestern Christian College. So how can we get involved here? So there's a little bit of opportunities that we did some research on. So TML, which we all know and love, is Texas Municipal League, and looking into how they do their policies. It's kind of a step-by-step involvement. And so I kind of gave you a little rundown here that does give you a little bit of background. So at the TML, annual conference here coming up in October, there will be a business meeting. Each city is able to send a representative to represent them, whether that be the mayor or any council member. We do have the opportunity as a city to be present there. So moving forward and getting involved in the advocating for the city, we can get involved in the TML Grassroots Involvement Program, which they call it GRIP, and then that ties into the Municipal Policy Summit that they have every legislative session. It's a 2-day workshop, and in order to be in that summit, you do have to be appointed by the TML president to be involved in that. And the way you get appointed is by participating in that grassroots involvement program. So it's kind of going backwards, but kind of moving forward there a little bit. So just for timeline purposes, so you guys can kind of get a picture of how that works for the 2025 legislative session, which starts in January. The president appointed any representative to that TML Policy Summit back in May of 2024. They have their actual meeting, the summit meeting, in August of 2024. So here recently, it actually happened 2 weeks ago. And then they move into the business meeting at the annual conference, which takes place in October. And then in December, they start getting ready for the legislative session. So they do start early, they do start planning, so that way that can be on the radar. And then some other associations that you guys can be involved with. I know that some of you are involved with it, but TML does have associations associated with them that you guys can attend, and I'm happy to get that information over to you for TML when we go down there in October. Also, on the federal level, we do have some advocacy committees that you can be a part of. NLC that takes place in DC, National League of Cities, they have 8 different advocacy committees that you can take part of. I'm not going to read the whole slide. However, you do have that information in front of you. I try to sum up kind of what they do. And if you want to get involved or get connected, I do have that information. I'm happy to get that over to you and kind of get you going in the process. The requirement for any of this is really just to be a local elected official, and there are meeting attendance requirements. There is an application that goes in hand, and I can go into all of that if there's any interest there. So just let me know. And then we want to talk about what we're doing in the county as far as transportation. So Kaufman County TxDOT Facility Transportation Improvement Funding. We do have a resolution on the agenda later that I will go into in deeper. It's on your agenda tonight as 7.2, but basically we are advocating with other cities and boards around Kaufman County to get transportation in Kaufman County where it needs to be by just really advocating for $4 billion in funding over the next 5 years to kind of get us where we need to go. In that effort, the mayor has kind of led a county quarterly meeting, which we have had successful this year. We have our 3rd one coming up September 17th, and that takes place with mayors and city managers and staff around Kaufman County. They get together. We've had representatives from TxDOT present and other transportation such as COG that will come and talk, and just getting in the room together to talk really does make a difference. That is all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Mara, if we have some council members who are interested in getting involved in TML, how soon do you need for them to reach out to you?
You can, it seems as if the applications, we don't want to wait till we get there because normally they have meetings there. Okay. So I would say within the next 2 weeks, or I'm happy to send out information. I just need to know which one you want to get connected into as far as the committees.
All right, if you would just let me know, and I'll work with Omara to see if what we can do is getting you in one of the organizations with TML. Okay? All right, thank you very much. It was good. Does anybody have any comments? All right, next on the, did you have?
I was just telling, thank you.
Oh, okay. Next on the agenda is discuss budget schedule. This is our Assistant City Manager, Mark Mills. You've been waiting patiently for us.
How are y'all this evening, Mayor and Council? Good evening.
I'm not going to belabor the schedule. We went over it briefly with you all at the budget work session. It's included in your packet this evening. If you all have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm happy to address them. One thing that is not on this calendar that came up at the budget work session is you all expressed a desire to explore the opportunity to include a tax ceiling for disabled individuals. When the tax ceiling went into place for the senior citizens a few years ago, it was not the disabled individuals were not included. So you all have expressed a desire to explore that. So sometime in August or September, you will see a resolution in your packet that will establish a date for a public hearing, which we would expect to happen later this year, to give you all an opportunity, give us an opportunity to pull the information together and present it to you all so you can explore that.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Yep. Next item on the agenda is discuss city council budget feedback from FY25 budget process. This is City Manager Mike Sims.
So this is a really simple assignment that I have, which is this page is here. This page is getting emailed to you. And if you want a copy of it, we'll just print one for you. So just give us name and district, and if you've got anything you want us to put down budget-wise as what your overall goals were. I know we've heard this. I know a lot of it's been discussed, and you've said it out loud, but we'd like to kind of get it documented. So if you've got some overall things for the city as a whole, note those down for us. If you want to just sit down with Dora or one of the other staff members and say, hey, I'm going to call you and say them out loud to you, that's awesome. Happy to take your input that way. District-specific concerns, if you've got something in particular in your district that you feel like we're missing and didn't get touched in the budget, or maybe you just want to make sure that during the course of the year we address it through some of our regular maintenance programs, let us know that under the district-specific concern section. And if you've got a desire for one-on-one briefing on any particular topic, let us know that as well. If you've got anything else that's outside of that you want to share, we put a little other column there. And we're just trying to keep it simple, but give you a way to have written feedback as well as your other means of having feedback to the budget process. We've done things like this in the past, and they're always very useful. No obligation that you do it, but it's helpful to staff when we have it come in like that. So.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sims. Anybody got any questions on, how soon do you need this?
Sooner the better, but we'll have a draft budget for you on the 3rd of September that you're going to see and have an opportunity to discuss. So if you have it before then, that's great. If you bring it on September 3rd, that's great too.
Yeah, let's set a 2-week, within the next 2 weeks, if we could, council members have something back for staff,
And
please.
if I have questions, I can still talk to Mark and his staff?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. This is not in lieu of other communication. It's just a helpful form of communication. And I know a lot of times council members have used this with their constituents to say, yeah, this was the official form I gave in. It makes it a little easier for you sometimes to do feedback to your constituents.
All right. Yep. And remember, just because your number one overall goal is at 1, doesn't mean that's where it's going to end up. But we do want to hear back from everybody. All right? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discuss city council budget feedback. Oh, no. We're at discuss Terrell Municipal Airport FY25 budget topics. Chris Knapp.
Mayor and Council, this is one from your August 9th workshop that we didn't have time for, and we thought it'd be useful to go ahead and take a few minutes tonight to let Chris do this presentation.
I'm back again.
All right.
We're going to go fast,
Yep.
just like a plane, okay?
Been through it.
No pun intended.
We've already been through it.
So what we're going to talk about, board members, CIP, capital projects for the airport. Airport's something is out there that we see it, we just don't really know. I'm going to bring you up to speed on some of the key things that are going on there. Talk about daily operations, what's going on. Talk about the proposals on the fixed-based operator. You'll hear that slang talked about as FBO, airport manager, okay? Just make it a layman's term. Then we're going to talk about an exciting flight software that we have going on and put you to the test. So the airport board members, this is our members that are currently on there right now. I stepped out when y'all were talking about it, so I don't know what transpired there. But there's our airport board members. Capital projects, these are 2 projects that are currently going on. The first one is replacing the electrical system. It's very outdated. It's in a low area, so there's water seeping into the building, and you don't want to stand in water while you're turning electrical breakers on or having transformers in there. It's very old, antiquated, and this project, as you can see, it's totaling about $2.2 million. There's the funding that is being, it's basically a 90-10 split on there. We're grouped with 5 other airports. They put us all in one basket, thinking that we'd get a great price, meaning TxDOT Aviation would do. That's currently going on. Fuel farm. As you know, we have planes out there. They need fuel. So we've had 2 tanks there that now they're abandoned. So we have mobile tanks. This was already in the mix way before I came here. It's just now come to fruition. These projects are currently going on, and we have right now a contract with Garver, and we're working on the location of the fuel farm. And when I say fuel farm, we're probably going to put these fuel tanks at the new terminal. We're trying to get the attraction to the new terminal. Naturally, that's where they all land when they come in. Other capital projects, these are now we're getting out into the future. This is land acquisition. This is approximately 55 acres on the southwest of the runway. That's in the mix down there. It's also, if you hear the RPZ, that's the protection fly zone that we'll look at. These are future projects. FBO hangar and building, looking at a new FBO facility. And you go, well, what's out there is a new terminal. Why can't you? So there's some offices in there, but generally you have a fixed base operator building that the air traffic manager is in and not in the terminals. The terminals are more used for customer based. North Apron rehabilitation, that's a $335,000 project. Industrial Park, British Flying Museum, some drainage improvements out there. These are all in the future. There's another part of the apron being rehabbed, so we're just not all done in one time, so we can do it in chunks. Naturally, more importantly, it doesn't have to be all done at one time. This is a ASOP, is what they refer to it. It's basically a weather device that's used for the airport. You can see that it's a 90-10 split. That's a very cheap fix out there in this part of the airport, and that's currently going on right now. Operations, this is on a daily basis. We're mowing about 90 acres. Runway taxi condition reporting. So you see the next is daily logs. We're required to go out there and monitor the airport, make sure there's no wildlife that's come on or knocked down fences. As you know, that's on the southeast side. It goes into the creek bottom. So there's some status runway lights that's checked, hangar inspections, special event management, wildlife, airside security. So we have to make sure all the gates are locked and they stay locked. They're in operational and they're not left open. Other operational duties, maintenance, and I just won't go down the list here, but you can see there's a great deal of daily activities that are going on in the airport. We use the conference room out there a great deal for meetings, and we've kind of fostered that for the community. It's a very nice facility out there. You say how many hangars? This gives you a breakdown of the number of hangars that we have out there. 80 hangars, 4 box hangars, storage hangars, and in industrial hangars and land use. So we have some corporate jets out there that have some hangars out there. And as you know, CareFlight used the new city hangar that we built in 2009, I believe. Here's our hangar rates for our hangar leases. One thing that was noted, last year we completed a business plan and a comprehensive plan for the airport. One of the things identified in the business plan is we got the cheapest rates in the hangars around East Texas. We have about 30 to 33 people on the waiting list. So if we built more hangars, we would fill them up. Also in the business plan, it was identified that the rates need to be reevaluated and determined if they need to come up. And naturally they do. So we've got that on the slate for next year, and that's some additional revenue. So what we have currently going on right now is our fixed-based operator. We have an RFP put out, and the current contract is expiring in October 15th of this year. So we've gone out for proposals. We received those proposals last Friday. We've received 2 candidates. And so now we are beginning the process now of getting together and evaluating those proposals and interviewing those and get back. So you can see, I talked about this briefly before, we're looking at a recommendation to the city council in October. And then a target date, we have a goal, and a lot of depends on the logistics, because one FBO, if you go to a new one, we got to shift responsibilities and tasks. And so there's got to be a little bit of a hand coordination from that. So that is in the process right now, and you'll be seeing more information coming down the pike. So, on to the exciting news. I won't ask you to tell me, but I want you to put a number in your head. How many planes land and take off or touch down and leave in a 24-hour period? Okay? I want you to think of a number.
30.
You want me to tell it to you?
We'll do it real quick. How much?
10.
10?
Say 8.
8. Okay.
I'd probably say
26,000 a year, so I would divide that probably by 365.
1 billion.
So we'll keep going. We have a soft, huh?
By 70.
70? You're all way off.
What?
Yes.
The most, here we have the slide in front of you. This is a software tracking. So when I got over in the airport, we didn't have any means of knowing what's happening after 5 o'clock when we go home. We had no idea. You come in from North Carolina, you land your plane, drop off your person, go eat lunch, whatever you do, get back in your plane and leave. We'll never know it. And you maybe didn't need gas, okay? So we have accommodations for you to use the facilities at the terminal. We can make those accommodations and coordinations. So we have this software, relatively just cheap to keep up with. So you see here in front of you, 246 in a 24-hour period. In the last month, we're averaging between 205 to 240 a day.
Wow.
I want to learn how to fly.
So we have a software tracking program right here that we put in, and it tells you the tail number of the plane. It tells me where you came from. It tells me your flight pattern. It tells me how fast you flew, how high you flew, and what airport you came from. So I have teamed up with the EDC to kind of funnel this information so we can start, when you come and fly in, hey, if you'll come back, we'll give you a 2-for-1 at some restaurant. Right. Or you come and you arrange it and you schedule it with you, we'll make some fuel cells. So this is hopefully a way we can keep up and do some marketing from that way. In my 3 weeks I've been out there off and on, I've met 3 pilots, one from South Carolina, another one from Denver, Colorado, and one from Lufkin.
And somebody flew in a nice, pretty blue thing.
So they're coming in, they're dropping off their individuals, gas, land resource folks. Lufkin's a HVAC contractor. He's got his own plane, so it tells you, and he wasn't a puddle jumper, okay? So they're very well involved. They like our airport. Many of them use them. You go, why is that number so high? A great deal of them are from the Addison School. And there's another flight school in Caddo Mills. And they are flying in, landing, practicing, because it's convenient, there's no hassle, the traffic's really good, and we don't have anything as far as obstructions. So very, very used, used very often in areas that we didn't even know. So we keep up with every aspect of that plane from the get-go. Okay, so fascinating information. And as you can see in the middle of the screen, you see all those numbers there. I can tell how long you parked. So when you come in and you park your plane, I'll know you've been sitting there for 6 months or longer. So one of the things in our airport is to keep the planes airworthy and involved. Naturally, the more you fly, the more our fuel cells go up. So there's a lot of information. Here's some, some of the screens that we have. As this individual came from way up in Denver, Colorado, and came here, tells me the entire flight pattern. There's a good example of someone flying around like a spider out there, just going in and out. You can see every aspect of that plane. Some very fascinating information. We've just had it about a month. We turned it on in the middle of September. So you can break this down into reports. You can go, okay, how many Lear jets, how many props, type of engines. So I can see, you know, did Donald Trump land? Did Elon Musk land? Or did someone, just a puddle jumper, a hobbyist? So it tells you a lot of information there. It breaks it down into fuel types and engine types. Destinations you see in the bottom, it tells me where you came from. So we can kind of see who's coming the most to see us and where they're headed to. So we can kind of coordinate and do some information. So that's all I have.
Man, that is so great that we finally got some data collection that we can use to promote the airport. I think it's one of the most underutilized assets that we have. So moving forward, this is going to be a huge thing. Best part of the presentation on projects that we might be looking at is the ability to leverage local funding with our federal and state grant opportunities that are out there. So if you can get a 90-10 or 80-20 or 100%, man, that's a wonderful thing there, man. Good job. Thank you. I look forward to hearing more.
In addition,
Yes.
Mayor, one thing that Chris alluded to, and I think it's important to note, our airport is the first airport to the east of Dallas where you do not have to have some special equipment, a radio and a transponder, which there are some avionics that you have to go into those areas. We don't have to have any of that here, which makes our airport extremely attractive for the type of thing that Chris was talking about. And we are the first airport to the east that's like that, east of Dallas. So cool.
How long have we had this software? It looked like it's good. I mean.
I turned it on July 19th.
Okay, so very good. Wow, that's good.
So I haven't even gone a full month because on August 1st, the software turned over and did it by month. So you can see roughly 200 to 220 touchdown flights at times 31.
Yep.
There's a lot of activity. So there's a lot of potential out there of what we could do.
Yes.
Future growth of some sort, some avionics, mechanics, school, whatever. Because some people don't want to fly, but they want to work on planes and have a good career. So.
Okay. Yes.
So I have a quick question for you, Chris. You know, this may be a little outside the box question, but as a fireman, this is kind of where I gravitate. So just as far as you know, we're able to track the comings and goings in the airport now. Do we have any kind of handle on like the kind of if hazardous materials are transported to the airport, or if anything dangerous is coming to the city? How are we keeping tabs on that, or is that a concern at all?
No, we wouldn't be able to keep up with that from the flight, from this flight tracking software. Now, we'll know who they are when they, you know, if we see something peculiar or oddity, then I can go back in time and see when they landed. For example, just to throw some technical jargon out there, I have geofenced the entire airport. So I know where you turned, I know what time you turned on the taxi, I know where you stopped. So I can even keep up with the care flights. They're going to land right behind their hangar door. So I geofenced that little driveway, so I know exactly how many times a month care flight comes in and out. So as far as specific what's being carried, Phil, I won't know what's inside the plane.
We occasionally get informed on a slightly different topic, which is whenever there is a transport of a transplant organ. Thank you. If we have a transplant organ coming through, then we'll get a special notification usually from those folks to say we're coming in, we expect to be here at this time, we're meeting this plane, we're doing handoff to this helicopter, whatever it might be, because just like some of the other folks Chris was mentioning, that tends to be very helpful if they're coming from far away to be able to fly it to us and then helicopter it into one of the hospitals in Dallas as opposed to landing at Love Field or something like that. So we've been a hub for that from time to time, and those, they don't happen a lot, but they are specialty notifications.
Do we have any sort of, this might be a question for Dustin, but do we have some plans in place? That's a lot of traffic with our airport. Do we have plans in place regarding, you know, the potential of a plane crash or any kind of a, you know, aircraft fire situation? Are we prepared for those kinds of eventualities?
I would say that that's something that Shane and Dustin would very much like to expand capabilities on. We've had some discussions with the FAA in the past about what the requirements are for having something that meets all the technical requirements for being a airport-based fire response system. An airport-based fire response system has specialty equipment, as you would well imagine that it needs. Whenever you hear Shane talk about expanding our ability to do hazardous material response, even just that fuel cleanup element that we sometimes have to invite Dallas folks to come in and help us with, expanding our skill set to include hazardous material cleanup is something that it's just not in the budget right now. But if we were going to be more attentive to issues at the airport, we would expand in that direction as kind of a step one. And then, you know, I don't say that this is in the foreseeable future, but a much larger airport would clearly have a based fire station, and you would develop a fire station around the idea that they're going to serve the airport and the surrounding area around the airport. We're just not there budgetarily right now.
That makes sense. And I understand we definitely don't have sort of the, your larger ARFF sort of, broad scale aircraft firefighting equipment, all those kinds of things. But I would like to see staff or maybe, our fire department or Dustin, come up with, because there's with that many aircrafts coming through, just the potentiality of, and I think Chris even mentioned there's some students, things like that. What if there's an air crash downtown, or, what will our response look like if a disaster were to occur?
Yeah, we've had practice versions of that because we have had a handful of aircraft that did the minor version of that, right? We've had aircraft recently that were trying to land on the runway and for whatever reason got blown to the side, rolled over, landed in the mud, 20 feet off the side of the runway. We haven't had serious things, but we've had to deploy emergency response with the idea that we don't know what we're going to get to when we arrive at that broken or wrecked aircraft. So we've had little instances along those lines, and I can talk to the team about giving you a fuller answer for that, because I think there are specialty training requirements and actions that you would do to get a little bit better than we currently are. So good question, and I'll follow up on it.
And Phil, that's a good firefighter question. I was going to tease you and say that Mr. Shumpert said east of Addison, we are the safest airport that there is. So I just want you to know that. We're in good hands.
The safest. I love it.
He didn't say that. I'm just giving you a hard time.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is 6.6. It's discuss resolution number 2174.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight for discussion only, resolution number 2174, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute contracts for Texas Water Development Board, TWDB, lead service line replacement grant loan in accordance with proposals received, and to execute all necessary documents and declaring an effective date.
All right. This is going to be handled by DJ Brower.
Yes, good evening, council members. In order to meet the Texas Water Board requirements, we had to send this out for a proposal and get proposals back. We received 6 proposals from various firms throughout the country, actually. We've got some from as far north as Minnesota, a couple from Texas, and I think one from they have an office here in Dallas, but their headquarters are somewhere else. We evaluated those proposals, and we had 3 that were within 3 points of each other. We had RJN, which is who we're choosing, Garver, and then we had LJA, which is a Dallas firm. We chose to go with RJN because they have done work with the city of Terrell before. They have a intimate personal knowledge and relationships with some of the members of the Texas Water Development Board. You know, having that ability to pick up a phone and call goes a long ways in getting things done and making sure we dot our I's and cross our T's, because Texas Water Development Board has a lot of paperwork. So our recommendation, staff's recommendation, is that the council authorize the city manager to discuss and negotiate with RJN for the lead service line replacement program. If you're not familiar with that, a water line is the water service line from the main that goes all the way to the house. We do have, I know of at least 9 houses right now, and they will go do an investigation, if awarded the contract, to investigate and make a report for all our cities, and then come up with a replacement program. Texas Water Development Board has authorized a little over $5 million to the city of Terrell for this program, and we would like RJN to assist us in both the design, construction management, and program management. It is a 51% grant, 49% low-interest loan program. So there really isn't any out-of-pocket costs until we get to the paying back the loan.
Okay, great. No, I think this is great for us to move forward with. This is going to be in the form of Resolution 2174. This will come back to the council at our next meetings. Anybody have any questions for DJ Brower on this?
Just looking at the scoring for the evaluation, I just want to make sure I understand it. Like, it was a group that scored higher than RJN, but
Yeah, that was Garver, and we have worked with them before, but they were so close that we wanted to work with a firm that really had the good personal interrelationship with the Texas Water Development Board. RJN had that better relationship. Garver is the one that is actually working with us on our Texas Water Development Board for the Kings Creek wastewater treatment plant program. So we are familiar with both firms, and for this particular program, we would prefer to work with RJN.
do we have to see numbers for this eventually, or what? Is this one of these things that, let me look.
Numbers-wise, there is a construction contract. There's going to be a design portion and then a construction phase.
Okay.
And yes, you'll be presented with both, because they're going to be well over the $50,000 limit.
Great, I'll just make sure.
And this is for
Lead line service replacement program.
replace lead pipes
Correct.
for certain homes or for all?
Any home that has a lead line today would get it replaced with a PVC or a poly water service line going from the main to their house. We do not replace the plumbing in the house,
But to the house?
but to the house.
And you, at some point in time, you will know how many homes that is.
You're right. We are going to, one of the first steps is we've got to identify every house that has that, so we know how many that needs to be replaced, and we can come up with a construction plan and estimate. Because as you know, working on private property, we have
Issues.
retaining walls, we've got landscaping, we've got wherever the plumbing goes, there's things that we don't know we're going to find. That it's not just dig up a trench and replace it. We've got to restore that property back, and we'll have to get each property owner's permission in order to do that. And if they choose not to, then we won't be replacing it.
Okay, so how is this going to impact your existing workforce?
They are going to be a supplement, and basically they are going to be doing 99% of the work. We are going to, staff will serve as a project manager or program manager for it in identifying and making sure all the steps are met to meet the Texas Water Board development requirements. They are going to provide the inspectors. They are going to actually go out and do the testing and make all the reports. My staff will not be assisting them other than to provide mapping and maybe access and some system knowledge.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is I am aware that you are taxed at this point. And glad we got the grant, are going to get the money, but this is going to have an impact. This is additional work to what is already crumbling.
Yes, it is, and it'll help fix some of that.
Okay, okay. I'm concerned.
Yes, I appreciate your concern, and I really would like the help too. And they are going to be very much a help because they are providing, like I said, 99% of the staff to get this particular program down so that I can continue to focus on the maintenance, repairs, and breaks and other things that
are
occur
happening.
daily.
All right, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, good thing to be able to replace those lead pipes. Anybody else? Our next item on the agenda, thank you, DJ, is discuss and consider resolution number 2173, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the city manager of the City of Terrell, Texas, to enter into police and animal control department agreements related to leased fleet vehicles. This is going to be handled by Interim Police Chief Arlie Sansom.
I will note while he's walking up that we're going to admit right out in the middle of everybody that we have a typo in this one. So if you look down at the bottom where it says section 1, it says the number 56 at the bottom, and we meant that to say 58. So our apologies for the bad typing there. And just a little note, if we move on to action on this item, that we'll need to note that we meant to say 58, but we typed 56. So with that, I'll turn it over to Arlie Sansom.
All right, it is extremely important that we consider this as an action item. The main reason is because the competition for purchasing police vehicles is fierce. You have difficulty getting what you ask for anyway, and it's even more difficult if we wait until after the budget process is completed. So as we've grown our lease fleet, we have learned a whole lot of little tricks, and we've now learned that we can put a placehold on these vehicles. So that means we can order now and we can pay later. And we actually have an example of that from the previous budget because we didn't get 9 of the cars until later into the year. So we ordered them, we got them built, they weren't delivered, and that's when the contract began, when we had to start making the payments. So it's extremely imperative from the police department side and on the city side that we get these orders placed, held. We don't have to pay for it until they're actually delivered. So it gives us a great head start and helps us build our fleet back to where it needs to be.
Are the costs locked in at when you order them or when they're delivered?
That's the reason that we need for Mr. Sims to be able to negotiate what those terms are, because we have different lease terms, we have different lease amounts, we have different needs in the fleet vehicles. Some will be equipped this way, some will be equipped that way. This gives him the opportunity to negotiate with all of the vendors. We get everything lined out, and then when it actually comes is when we start making the payments.
All right.
58 is the correct number, right?
Yes, ma'am, 58.
Is that replacing the entire, I mean, is that,
The good news is we already had expanded the fleet over the past 2 years. So as we've grown the fleet, this would be 19 additional. If you'll recall from the presentation we did at the workshop, this would be 19 vehicles. Some of those are replacements and some of those are new to add to be able to staff the new personnel that we have.
Anyone else have any comments for the police chief?
Are these going to be forerunners? I mean, bigger vehicles?
What we're looking at right now in the primary is the Ford Explorers that we talked about.
Explorers.
So it's more of a compact version. We're real happy once we got some of those issues resolved with that warranty problem. That's going to be a lot better vehicle. It's going to be more maneuverable. It's not as big and bulky. We hope that it might reduce accidents a little bit because you don't have something that drives like a tank. So we think that will be a benefit to us. There will be one Charger that's coming in that, and then some of those other vehicles will be indescript type vehicles that y'all won't know about till we get burned, and then of course everybody will know.
We don't need to know, that's right. Anyone else? Yeah, all right. Is there a motion on resolution number 2173? Remember, if we're gonna pass that, it needs to be 58 and not 51. 58.
58 is the correct number, thank you.
I make a motion that we do 58. Oh, wait a minute, I have to say it proper, right?
Could I make a suggestion?
Please do.
Motion to approve resolution number 2173 with 58 leased vehicles.
I move to approve resolution number 2173
With 58 leased.
with 58 vehicles, leased vehicles.
Good.
Got it. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Donna Renee Anderson, District 2, a second from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 5, to approve Resolution 2173 with 58 leased vehicles. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 7.2, discuss and consider resolution number 2175, a resolution of support by the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas for $4 billion in 5 years for Kaufman County TxDOT project. This is going to be handled by our Senior Policy Analyst, Amara Mata.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Before you, we have Resolution 2175. This was the resolution that I had mentioned earlier in your legislative priorities PowerPoint for the $4 billion in 5 years for Kaufman County TxDOT projects. If you look at your resolution, a couple of things I just want to point out here. The 2000 on the second whereas, or the third whereas, it says a Kaufman County bond program that we passed back in 2019 funded numerous projects in Kaufman County, which we have seen on the roads that we drive. The next one kind of goes into the I-20 3 main lanes coming from Dallas, connecting into Kaufman County. You go into Kaufman County, there's 2 lanes, and then if you go into the Van Zant County, we can see that there is funding and moving into construction phase for the I-20 to also be 3 lanes on that side. So what that tells us is there's going to be a gap within Kaufman County connecting I-20s on either side. So that is a huge problem that we see here on transportation. We're going to jump down to the third to last one on that page. It's the ITS Kaufman County reports. That is showing $3.8 billion in projects within Kaufman County, which has less than $700 million identified funding for critical projects in Kaufman County. So at the rate that we're kind of going in, I won't go into all the others, but those are just the main 2 that I wanted to point out. At the current funding that we are doing today, which is approximately $130 million annually, it would take us 31 years to complete all of the road system regional problems that we have within Kaufman County. So that is why this resolution is before you today. It is basically a support that if you do wish to move forward with, going to kind of put a statement out there for TxDOT saying, hey, we're in support. We want and need $4 billion in the next 5 years in order to accomplish this. We can't wait 31 years in order to get to where we need to be. This resolution was shared with our Kaufman County Leadership Council, and it was given out to the people involved in that, which are people all over the county. We will also bring it up and share it with any board or other city group at the quarterly transportation meeting on September 17th, and just basically asking TxDOT to invest in Kaufman County because we can't wait 31 years to do so.
So, Council, the Kaufman County Leadership Organization is one that I'm chairing currently. Our discussion was, how do we as a county move forward with all of the municipalities in it? Best way for us to express our concerns with TxDOT, and the best way to do that is through resolutions from each one of the cities. All of them are willing to participate, and then as Amira mentioned, some of the other organizations are going to do as well. So this is just saying we're all united in Kaufman County for funding that we believe is going to be an amount of about $4 billion. and to not forget about us on the east side of the Metroplex.
And these will be all TxDOT projects, and they'll be funded that way, but we just have to show our support. Is that correct?
No.
I don't understand.
Okay.
Are we saying that there's something happening that, okay, TxDOT has a plan for road improvements, and there's a gap on either side of I-20. Is that I-20 to Van Zant County, coming out of Dallas County?
That's one example, yes, ma'am, just one
And so
example out
these
of many.
gaps, if we go with their plan, there's this 31-year waiting time. Is that what you're saying? And so we want them to, we're saying to TxDOT, give us $4 billion to do this while you do the other. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm going to restate it completely. So let's start over. Right now, they're spending roughly $130 million a year in this county. That is nowhere close to what they need to do to clear this backlog. So we're not asking for them to give us, in particular, any dollar here. We'll have plenty of times where we ask for money to do in particular projects. We'll have plenty of examples that come up where O'Meara or myself or Chris Snap will come forward and say, hey, if we put X dollar amount into this project, then TxDOT will match it, right? That's not what we're talking about today. Not on the agenda today. What we're doing today is to say, increase your pace of allocations to this county. Right now, they're planning on spending $4 billion in 31 years. I think that's terrible. I think I'd like to see them spend $4 billion every 5 years in this county. So that's what we're expressing here, and it's telling them to take care of their own business a lot faster in this county than they're planning on. So things like Interstate 20 main lanes, we would not want a grant for that. We would want them to do that, right? So we are looking at them saying, hey, would you hurry along and get this wide variety of projects done? In order to do it with our countywide partners, we didn't want to give them a specific list outside of the list that already exists, right? There's an existing list, which we reference in here, that's done by ITS, and we're just pointing at that and saying, hey, we know how expensive that list is. We know that list is going to take you 31 years. Go faster, spend more, and you go do your own projects in that time period. Now, I would very clearly say to you, they're very likely to come back to the county and say, how come the county doesn't pass another county bond program? Okay, great. We might all have to help advocate for that. We might all have to say rah, rah for that. If we do a grant application because we in particular think that some specific project is worthy of a city local match, I'll let you know. We'll come forward and talk to you about it at great length, and we'll make a policy decision about whether or not it makes sense. But this is just, you guys have your own bank account at TxDOT. You guys start allocating more money to Kaufman County than you are today.
So, Mike, so correct me if I'm wrong. This is just basically, we're not committing to anything here. It's just us kind of saying, hey, we've got a united front here. Yes. We're all coming together saying, hey, this is one of your fastest growing counties. We need you to allocate more resources to this because it's becoming a growing problem, correct?
100%.
Okay. And is there any teeth to this? Like, I mean, in us putting this forward, do we have any leverage in kind of getting TxDOT to kind of hear us out?
No, but what I would say is that in some counties, there's municipalities that work against each other or organizations that don't work together. This is just saying, hey, Kaufman County's united, and they would be more willing to look at a county that is all on board rather than fighting within the county.
That makes sense. That's all I have.
All right. All right, thank you, Omar. Is there a motion on Resolution 2175?
Motion to approve Resolution 2175 as presented.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5, a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem District 4, to approve Resolution number 2175 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Council, we may approve these all at once. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, a second from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5, to approve our consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes?
What are we consenting? I thought we talked about 8-3 last meeting.
This is the second reading.
Second reading.
Second reading?
Yes, ma'am. That can all be done as a part of the consent agenda.
Remember that your charter requires that you only pass ordinances if they are shown to the public twice at 2 meetings that are separated by 7 days. And so whenever we have the word ordinance in a thing that we pass, you'll always see it again for second reading with absolutely, just routine business for us to have that second reading.
Okay, so, okay.
So it passed, this is second reading, so we're just,
I'm always mindful of the fact, just to clarify, if you wish to state for the record that you are a no vote on a consent item, then it's very simple for you to just say, I'd like to note for the record that I'm a no vote on that particular item.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I say that.
what,
I have to tell you which one?
Yes.
It would help. I say no on ordinance number 3047.
Okay.
okay, you got that, Don? All right, so there's a,
We have a motion and a second and a note.
I'm just trying to think how we do this so that
Tell you
there's
how you
some,
might do it, Mayor.
we may need to pull it.
Yes, that's what I was going to
Yeah,
suggest.
so
you
let's-
do.
let's just take-
Let's vote 8-3 separate from the
Yeah,
rest of the consent.
we're going to pull 8-3 from the consent agenda, and we'll do that on a separate vote, but this one is for 8-1 and 8-2. We have a motion by Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, and a second from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 5, to approve resolutions consent agenda items 8.1 and 8.2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried with unanimous consent. Now we'll consider item 8.3. This is ordinance number 3047. Is there a motion on that?
What is what do we say?
A motion to approve. Does anybody have one?
Motion to approve ordinance number, is this 3047?
3047. There's a motion. Is there a second? Mayor, second. To approve, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 3047 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed?
No.
4-1.
Yes, I oppose.
Motion passed. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, motion passes 4-1. Our next item on the agenda is to receive housing monthly reports. Council, if you would just go through those, get back with staff on that, and get your questions answered. We do not have any executive session. We're adjourned.
Night, everyone.
Night, thank you.
Night, Phil.